about paths, columns, and gradients. So columns is we can like macro columns on the inside. Gradients we put the picture, style of picture, style of picture inside, and design that we want to get the design on it. And start what is anything of the terrain. Plans of requirement to do more research. What are the guides research?
Okay. So, morning everyone. With the research, CSS columns and gradient, explain my findings. Same with Cindy that you can use the gradient in conjunction with the background property, background image property. I might start, not really. Just to overcome the current problem. I don't have any current problem. Word of the day, keep on coding, research and implement. Right. So let's start with today's session. So today we'll start with the revision on basic media queries, concept of responsive web design, and CSS box sizing property. Okay. Then after that we'll have some quiz. Then after that we'll take a 15. And after that we'll focus on CSS gradients. And after that we'll do CSS columns. Then some practicals on both CSS gradient and CSS columns. Right. So we'll start with the revision. The box size in CSS property says how the total width and height of an element is calculated. So guys, do you still remember when we spoke about box sizing? Can you just, each and every one of you, tell me what you understand about the box sizing property itself? Starting from sister, you can just MTN. Can you just tell me what you understand about that? Because you just write what is the
So the box sizing is not free.
volume, please.
It basically calculates like the margin and padding on the paper.
Margin and padding and the border. So the total width of the height and width of an element. So we have these values that go with the box size in CSS property. The content box, it gives you the default CSS box sizing behavior. If you set an element's width to 100 pixels, then the element's content box will be 100 pixels wide. And the width of any border or padding will be added to the final rendered width, making the element wider than 100 pixels. So can you explain what is being said there? Volume?
Content box is that it adds padding or border inside of your content box. So,
Can you play with the example?
it's hold on,
Play with the example. Remember guys, we have examples on MDN. That's what I also use to research. By the way, even when you are working guys, MDN will be recommended at work. So it's so nice that you guys are learning about MDN at your early stages. That is documentation.
okay, so content box it adds now width inside or it adds of your parent content. So you say if your parent container had 10 pixels of width, then your box content is now 5, because in other words, you will then make the total of your box
Okay.
Now, the content box is you have one specific number and add onto that for the board and the pen. Yeah, so trying to like bigger or small and stuff because the example here in the content box we added mount to the pen and stuff and the border again out of that the provisional box, the paper box, the chart box is out of it. Like about over the border of
Okay. Sister? Okay. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, so I was going to say, isn't in the content box adding any border or with that inside the content box as opposed to your border and outside the content box?
Actually, totally the opposite. It said it's adding. Like, remember the example that I made yesterday? That when you're, like, when you look at your height right now, let's say you're 3, right? The minute you wear high heels, it's no longer 3. Maybe it's 3.5 because you have heightened your height, right? So that is content box. So do you remember when I made another example about plastic shoes versus jelly shoes? When you wear those shoes, your height doesn't change. So that is like border box. So do you remember those examples? So please use the power of association. Please associate when you want to create long-term memories. Right? So border box tells can you read for me?
Border box tells the browser to look into any border and fairly in the values you specify for an element's width and height. If you set an element's width to 100 pixels, that's why you can include any border or padding you added. The content box will shrink your space. This typically makes it easier to size elements. Box size in border box is the default styling that browsers use for tables, select, and function elements. And for input elements, you start with the yellow checkbox and you set button, submit, download, or search.
So border box tells the browsers to account for any border padding in the values you specify for an element's width and height. If you set an element's width to 100 pixels, that 100 pixels will include any border or padding you added. And the content box will shrink to absorb that extra width. This typically makes it much easier to size elements. Box size in border box is the default styling that browsers use for table, select, and button elements, and for input elements whose type is radio, checkbox, reset, button, submit, color, or search. So guys, yesterday I gave you a lot of examples, right? I want to just get something. I gave you examples of this thing. If you add, remember, margin and padding are short-term properties. Can we call out those constant properties that goes with margin? Margin, but the short-term properties that the list of those properties that goes with margin. It's marginal, margin top, margin bottom, left and right. Then on the padding, so on content box, the minute you specify, let's say, padding left and right is the value of 50 pixels, and same with the padding right, the value of 50 pixels. That is the way to what to a width because it's left and right. Same with the border, right? Because in the border, the minute you specify the width, it's going to, the border width is going to make sure this is, let's say if you gave it a width of 20 pixels, right? It's going to make sure this is big enough, but that is going to add on to the overall element's width. So that is what is being said here on the content box. The margin, the padding, the border, they all add up to the final, the total width of the element, of the entire element. Can you quickly go to browser on instead? I want to show that the same example right click, or you can press Ctrl Shift I in the shortcuts. Scroll down until you see the box model. Yeah. So the box model goes like this: we have the content, which is your text or your images. Then after the text or after the content, you have what? The padding. Right? This is important so you have to understand this. The padding is like the background. That's where you can just add your background color, your everything. After the padding, we have what? Ties. We have the border. After the border, we have the margin. Right? Okay. Just wanted to make sure that you guys understand that. Let's continue. So, let me start here. So, we also covered the CSS media queries. The CSS media query gives you a way to apply CSS only when the browsers and device environment matches a role that you specify. For example, viewport is wider than 480 pixels. Media queries are a key part of responsive web design, as they allow you to create different layouts depending on the size of the viewport, but they can also be used to detect other things about the environment your site is running on. For example, whether the user is using a touch screen rather than a mouse. In this lesson, you will first learn about the syntax used in media queries, then move on to use them in a working example, how a simple design might be made responsible. A media query consists of a media type, which tells the browsers what kind of a media this code is for. Example, a print or a screen. A media query consists of a media expression, which is a rule or a test that must be passed for the contained CSS to be applied. A media query consists of a set of CSS rules that will be applied if the test passes and the media type is correct. After specifying the type, you can then target the media feature with the rule. So let me just ask you some questions. What did you understand about media queries? What are media queries in your own understanding? What are they used for? Remember recording, we cannot hear you.
It allows you to apply CSS styles depending on the results or value of your page characteristics.
Okay. Sister?
You can use it for, so you can set your website for phone or computer, the landscape.
Nice, okay. Yeah, that's basically it. Cindy?
I would need another view to style your web page according to the device that you need to view that website, or a computer, or phone, tablet.
Okay, so that's basically it, guys. So the media queries is just a way of making sure your design adapt to all screen sizes or all device width that you're using. Remember, a phone and a computer and a laptop, they have totally different widths, right? And we even have now smartwatches running websites. On smartwatches, you can view browsers, you can do whatever you are doing on your phone because it's a smartwatch. Plus, we do have Android TV such as this one. This is a huge width. So how can my design adapt to this? Using media queries, I can achieve that, right? Okay, sure, let's go back. After specifying the type, you can then target media feature with a rule. The feature we tend to detect the most often in order to create responsive design, and that has a widespread browser support, is viewport width. And we can apply CSS if the viewport is above or below a certain width or an exact width, using min width, max width, and with media features. The width and height media features can be used as ranges, and therefore be prefixed with min max to indicate that the given value is a minimum or a maximum. For an example, to make the color blue if the viewport is 600 pixels or narrow, use max width. Let me read that again. The width and height media features can be used as ranges, and therefore be prefixed with min or max to indicate that the given value is a minimum or a maximum. For example, to make the color blue if the viewport is 600 pixels or narrower, use max width. So what is being said, can you just explain that part? Yeah. You're already standing up, so
No.
might as well take advantage of that.
What must I explain the features?
The width and height media features can be used as ranges and therefore be prefixed with min or max to indicate that the given value is a minimum or a maximum. For example, to make the color blue if the viewport is 600 pixels or narrower, use max width.
I think what I understand about the width and the height media features is when you go on our DevTools, and
Yeah.
then you can say you have a set minimum value, or rather, let's say you have a set maximum value. You
Okay.
set it to, let's say, if you go and the set value is 600 pixels. If you go over the 600 pixels, it can be another color.
Oh, okay, okay,
So it's like when you change your dimensions.
okay, okay. Is there anyone who can just cement that explanation by Cindy? Because it is what it is. She just explained everything, but I just need one more stone on it.
That's when you use the minimum width or max width and you maybe put in 600 pixels. Whatever you specify in there will only show if it corresponds to the laser. So if the laser is 200 pixels, it won't show. But with minimum, it starts from 0 up until the
Specify.
the specificity of what you put down, and from max, it's from that point up.
Okay, thank you. One well-supported media feature is orientation, which allows us to test for portrait or landscape mode, to change the body text if the color. One well-supported media feature is orientation, which allows us to test for portrait or landscape mode. To change the body text color if the device is in landscape orientation, use the following media query. So, Tanvir, can you explain that one? Again.
This is where they, you can say, you can tell what you want it to be, if you want it to be
Volume?
landscape. If you want the thing to be landscape or portrait, you can say in the thing what you want it to be. So if you want it to be on the computer, you must say landscape goes into go according to the computer's website.
Okay, nice one. With all of the different possible media queries, you may want to combine them or create a list of queries any of which could be matched. With all of the different possible media queries, you may want to combine them or create a list of queries, any of which could be matched. So guys, can you assist me there?
So if you want to specify which, if you wanted screen or whatever option you want, if you want everything covered, you can either leave it at and it will default to everything, or you can put it in all and then it will cover everything.
Okay. To combine media features, you can use and in much the same way as we have used and above to combine a media type and a feature. For example, we might want to test for a min width and orientation. The body text will be blue if the viewport is at least 600 pixels wide, and the device is in landscape mode. To combine media features, you can use AND in match, the same way as we have used AND above to combine media type and feature. For example, we might want to test for a mean width and orientation. The body text will may be blue if the viewport is at least 600 pixels wide and the device is in landscape mode. If you have a set of queries, any of which could match, then you can comma separate these queries. In the below example, the text will be blue if the viewport is at least 600 pixels wide or the device is in landscape mode, landscape orientation. If either of these things are true, the query matches. Can I just quickly go to the room? Come. If you have a set of queries, any of which could match, then you can comma separate these queries. In the below example, if you have a set of queries, any of which could match, then you can comma separate these queries. In the below example, the text will be blue if the viewport is at least 600 pixels or pixels wide or the device is in landscape orientation. If either of these things are true, the query matches. You can negate an entire media query by using the NOT operator. This reverses the meaning of the entire media query. Therefore, in this example, the text will only be blue if the orientation is portrait. One well-supported media feature is orientation, which allows us to test for portrait or landscape mode. To change the body color if the device is in landscape orientation, use the following media query. I think we reported that one. There are now far too many devices with a huge variety of sizes. To make that feasible, this means that instead of targeting specific sizes for all designs, a better approach is to change the design at the size where the content starts to break in some way. Perhaps the line lengths become far too long, or a boxed out sidebars get squashed and hard to read. That's the point at which you might want to use a media query to change the design to a better one for the space you have available. This approach means that it does not matter what the exact dimensions are of the device being used. Every range is catered for. The points at which media query is introduced are known as breakpoints. There are now far too many devices with huge variety of sizes. To make that feasible, this means that instead of targeting specific sizes for all design, a better approach is to change the design at a size where the content starts to break in some way. Perhaps the line lengths become far too long, or a boxed outside bars get squashed and hard to read. That's the point at which you want to use a media query to change the design to a better one for the space you have available. This approach means that it does not matter what the exact dimensions are of the device being used. Every range is catered for. The point at which media query is introduced are known as breakpoints. Right. Examples. So this is the simplest media query. This is the basic, the first example. We have this at media rule, then the media type, which is if it's screen, we say screen. Then the media feature, which is the width, min width, right here. Then the CSS reception styles, they go here. So when this matches, when these two matches, it's going to apply these styles. Right. Look at this one. So this is at media print, which is if you are going to print, this is only will work if you are printing the page. If you are printing the page, the font size will be 12 points. Only if you are printing this document on the HTML document. Remember, HTML is still a document. Like your Word, your PDF is still a document. Yeah.
So then it would be best practice to have both, or to have add media or nowadays, because I might view the website first maybe on my phone, but then want to download or rather print one of the articles there and then view it on a desktop. And then sort of like make
You can use
design more responsive.
You can use add, or you can just separate those queries to combine them. Is that your answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions? Going once, twice, and so on. So, can you just, guys, render your eyes on the screen? So these pictures are used to create layouts that respond to different screen sizes. For example, to change the body text color red, if the viewport is exactly 600 pixels, you would use the following media query. We have on the example, on the CSS example, we have the media rule set. Then we are specifying the screen and the width has to be exactly 600 pixels because we are not using min width or max width, we are using just the width property. It has to be exactly 600 pixels. Then we are styling the body element, we are giving it the color of red. So every text on the document will change to be red the minute we reach 600 pixels. Right. Can you see that? Then we have orientation. We already read that, but I'm going to read it again. One well-supported media feature is orientation, which allows us to test for portrait or landscape mode. To change the body color if the device is in landscape orientation, use the following media query. We have the at media rule set, then orientation, property, and the value of landscape. So can you see how to use the orientation media query? All right. So guys, I'm giving you 15, then we'll come back at 11, 10 past 11. Must be here. So now we're back. So yesterday guys, we spoke about box sizing, web fonts, media queries, and responsive web design. So I just want to hear your thoughts on them again. Can you tell anybody, just explain what is box sizing property, what does it do, what is it used for? And then after that we'll do web fonts, media queries, and responsive web design. So whoever is
Then one of us each explain one example, not all of us explain one thing three times.
Okay.
You just hear from one person of box size to one person of web fonts. Because it takes up a lot of time for each of us explaining everything over and over.
okay. If you suggest that, I won't go against it. So just pick one that you feel comfortable with.
How the box sizing.
Okay.
So the box sizing is where you can, if you make a conflicts per box thing, it's like you must add the amount of cooking names, the income. So it's like to go out of the parent box and whereas the border box is inside of the border box. So that doesn't, you could add in a number, but that doesn't go about like over the parent box or anything.
Okay. Next one.
So web fonts is used to include external web fonts. So you can go on the Google Fonts, you can either download the fonts so that you can view the fonts offline, and then to import it, you would copy the layout of linking the fonts on HTML,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a part that you copy to the font family on the CSS as well.
Okay. Cindy, choose whatever you feel comfortable on.
Okay, so media queries basically allow you to figure out the layout of your web page based on the device that you're going to view your page.
Okay.
So that the layout is according to the height and width of the device.
Okay. So
Responsive web development focuses on making the sites look and behave, how it behaves on whatever screen. If you select screen, anything that has a screen, or if you choose voice, that's from some speech, from text to speech, or if you want out, you want it to look, if you print the page.
nice one. So is there anything that you're not 100% comfortable with there?
The thing is, like, we understand the concept of everything, but executing it is different because you can watch 1,000 videos, but in the videos, everyone is doing their own projects. So when we have to do something on our own, it's kind of hard because they only use properties to make their virtue. Now, if you want to do something else, then you start.
You start. That's normal. Okay. Anyone?
I don't think none of us, anyone knows what is left to put in the properties and values. Like we know what we must do, but what should be here, then let us put in that things so it can come out. So if we get the list of things like in HTML, there was the bar, the P, the B, and all that stuff. So in CSS, we have the list of all the properties and values that goes in each of these categories. Because we use the leading things of you know, like the actual tags and elements and all of that thing.
So CSS works with properties
Yeah,
and
the
values.
problem about that is
Okay. CSS is really complex, guys. I'm expecting all of this feedback from you guys. CSS, it's not easy. I won't lie to you. Like HTML is better than CSS. CSS, it has a lot of stuff. Number one. Number two, it is way too complex to understand. So you need to, even if we did a session on it, don't skip on it. Just keep on going back there so that you can at least repeat it 3 times up until you feel like you feel comfortable on working with it. Like the background color property, I know all of you guys are feeling like super comfortable in using that because you have used it multiple times. So it's like that with other properties. You have to keep on using them up until you feel like comfortable with them, right? So don't just do it when we are here on the class. Now, take your time up until you feel like, okay, now I understand this is this. If needs be, you can just keep on repeating MDN, going back and forth on reading the documentation. Unfortunately, they told me to give you only the MDN documentation. There's a lot of resources you can use. Inside the class, we are only allowed to use MDN, but at your own spare time, you can use Deco3C schools, and you can also use there's a what tool is this? Scrimba. Can you quickly just search scrimba.com? I want to show you something. Scrimba. SCR. Scrimba. INA. Scrimba.com. Scrimba. Scrimba. SCRI. This can be also be very basic. What does it say? Are you there yet? So, if you really jump on it, you can just use this right to start from the first page from the first, and then do CSS. Or in the free process. This is the start that you want to do so that you can install CSS. And also, like, on the phone, you can download seven name as a little like, yeah. That's it for now, so that we are talking with the phone. I'm going to share some PDF with you guys on the group. So let's continue. Are you done? Cindy? All right. So we'll do the gradient. So let's start. The gradient CSS data type is a special type of image that consists of a progressive transition between two or more colors, right? The gradient CSS data type is similar to property, same thing basically. We'll get to learn that when we do JavaScript, but CSS data type is a property. The gradient CSS property is a special type of image that consists of a progressive transition between two or more colors. Right, so a gradient is a way of mixing two or more colors. Let's say, have you ever seen a website that has different colors? So a gradient is that. So a gradient has different functions, or different values as functions, right? A CSS gradient has no intrinsic dimensions. For example, it has no natural or preferred size or preferred ratio. Its concrete size will match the size of the element to which it applies. If you have an element that is 100 pixels wide or 200 pixels of a height, it will cover the whole thing, right? It does not have an intrinsic dimensions. It has no natural or preferred size, no preferred ratio. It's a concrete size. Its concrete size will match the size of the element to which it applies. Linear gradient. Linear gradient transition colors linear gradient transition colors progressively along an imaginary line. They are generated with linear gradient function. I think there's a helper tool. Let me just look for it. There's a helper tool that can assist with gradients. Just give me a few seconds. I'm going to share that with you so that you can play. There's a helper tool that you can use for gradients instead of writing everything down by yourself. Gradient 2. The Wi-Fi is slow. Oh yeah. So can you open a new tab? Just type CSS gradient with no space .io. CSS gradient.io with no space in between. CSS gradient.io. Let's play with that one. If you scroll up, there is linear, two option linear and radian. And if you scroll down, you can copy the whole code and paste it in your IDE. It will give you the same colors that you copied, that you created. You can add as many colors as you want. Can you see that? So now, do you have a 10% understanding of what is going on? So how many colors do you have with us? You have 3 colors. Okay. You can add more if you feel like it by clicking wherever you want to do this. And clicking on it, and you can press it and then try to choose it. If you have the rest code open, you can just type this. Just do the idea one and see what you can make it and go over the two.
gradients of any. So I'm trying to find out how can I fix this. If you see if it comes nice and then it's like I tried.
So those with the heading colors for the stop the heading. Yeah. So you can just copy here instead of copying here. You press copy, it's going to copy. So that's basically it. The gradient CSS data type is a special type of image that consists of a progressive transition between two or more colors, right? The gradient CSS data type is a special type of image that consists of a progressive transition between two or more colors. A CSS gradient has no intrinsic dimensions. It has no natural or preferred size, nor a preferred ratio. Its concrete size will match the size of the element to which it applies. Do we understand that? So since you guys have used the body selector, it will just make sure that it will populate the height of the body and the width of the body, right? If you are using it on a button, it will make sure that it only populates the specified element that it is applied on. So let's go to linear gradient. The linear gradient transition colors progressive. The linear gradients transition colors progressively along an imaginary line. They are generated with linear gradient function. The radial gradient transition colors progressively from a center point. That's where it starts. Start from the center. The radial start from the center, then it spreads out. The radial gradient transition colors progressively from center point origin. They are generated with radial gradient function. Then we have the last one, which is the conic gradient. The conic gradient transition colors progressively around the circle. They are generated with conic gradient function. The conic gradient transition colors progressively around the circle. They are generated with conic gradient function, right? Can you quickly switch on MDN and search gradient? I want you to play with those different values. On your computer, I think you have a gradient color. Can you just see the back of your computer?
Yes.
When you are far, it's like it has different colors. It must be the screen that's reflecting on it. In CSS, guys, we have a lot of helper tools, and I think we have a tool for also for the columns. We have a tool for animation keyframe generator. We have a tool for button generator. We have a tool for glitch text effect. We have a lot of tools. I'm going to send you this. I'll send you this link so that you can see the tools that we have available in CSS. Can you open a new tab? I want you to enter this following website: cssportal.com. Portal, which is Portal. CSS Portal with no space in between. cssportal.com. Can you see it? So you see the computers that we have? We have almost everything. So whenever I ask you guys to do the articles, just remember this strategy. All right. Okay, on the tool that I just showed you, look for the CSS columns tool. I'm going to read the CSS columns slide. Then after that, you will just play with it. CSS columns. Can you find it? Yeah, there's press on that one. So the CSS shorthand property, the column CSS shorthand property says the number of columns to use when drawing an element's content, as well as those columns with. The column CSS shorthand property says the number of columns to use when drawing an element's content, as well as those columns with. The column count CSS property breaks an element's content into the specified number of columns. The column count CSS property breaks an element's content into the specified number of columns. The column width CSS property sets the ideal column width in a multi-column layout. The container will have as many columns as can fit without any of them having a width less than the column width value. If the width of the container is narrower than the specified value, the single column width will be smaller than the declared column width. The column width CSS property sets the ideal column width in a multi-column layout. The container will have as many columns as can fit without any of them having a width less than the column's width value. If the width of the container is narrower than the specified value, the single column's width will be smaller than the declared column width. So after guys playing with the tool, can you understand the columns, or are you still playing with them? Okay. So remember to use the tool and MDN examples so that you can have a bit of understanding what else we are speaking about here. So hello Sharon. Can you see it here? Let's play around with it. What text it can make you. So you can add environments now. We just grab whatever. Everything we have learned up until this point, there is generic adjustment. So if you really need to familiarize yourself with any data, that is the sign, which is CSS property. Fine. And there, I'll wait for you guys, no worries. So I think from now on, doing practicals will not be that difficult since we have saw the CSS portal, right? Save the site, make sure that you bookmark it, so that when you're at home, utilize it, and when you're at work, you can utilize it. Alright. So as you can see, these are the examples that are on MDN. If you haven't checked them out, please do play around with those videos. So you guys, so at 12, we normally take lunch at 12, right? So after the lunch, there's some practicals that I want you guys to do, which is CSS columns. I want you guys to take enough break so that you can come back with energized. Use CSS gradient. So on CSS columns, I want you guys to at least generate. Now you have generated about one, right? I want you guys to do two. Right? CSS columns. Use the gradient. Use web font. You can use box sizing, but it's optional, right? Yeah, but not now. After, let's say, 1 o'clock, that's when we start, right? And this is it for today's session. I'll show you what to research, and I'm going to keep on. I'll look at your code and see what you are making wrong, and just advise where to look and how to look, guys. Because we have a lot of resources on CSS that we can utilize, like the CSS portal, the one that I've showed you.